You know I try to be a good man, I always give it my best. But truth be told, someday I want to go to the wild, wild west.
And now, live from our Smokehouse studio, it's time for Real Estate Jerky. All your real estate questions answered by our provocatively lean expert hosts. Edward Ed Parco, MBA, veteran, and president of Lending for Living. We'll give you something to chew on. Real Estate Jerky is on now.
Hey, thanks for joining us here on Real Estate Jerky. I'm your host, Ed Parco, president of Lending for Living, along with Marlene Chaplin, my trusty sidekick and co-host, on the road and keeping you up to date on real estate and what's happening in our communities. Our studio is wherever we have a solid Wi-Fi connection, and our fabulous engineer, Mike Murray, and the rest of the supportive friends at iHeartMedia. We always bring you something to chew on here on Real Estate Jerky. You can call or text me with questions at 209-404-1915 or email us at radio@realestatejerky. Hello, Marlene.
It's okay.
It's going to be one of those shows, I can tell you.
We're headed to Manteca a little later in the show for a super exciting weekend with one of my favorite Mantecans, fourth-generation resident family business and farming operator Ron Perry. But, Ed, you want to talk about, you got a lot of stuff you want to talk about. You've got to respond to some of our listeners, so go for it.
All right, so the first one is I want to thank the guy for calling again from Salida. Appreciate those calls. Don't know what you want me to do with it, but I appreciate the calls, and thanks for the voicemail. But I did have a text from I said gentleman, I don't know who it was, a person, and it says, "Good morning. I'm looking to move my family out of California. Real estate cost is high, and I'm afraid to purchase at this time because of the high costs. Am I doing the right thing?" I guess that's one question. Buying or rent until the market drops again? I think the question is, if he leaves California, should he buy or rent until the market drops? Or the question is, am I moving out of California the right thing? What's your answer, Marlene?
Well, if this guy has the kind of resources that you can just cut and run and go move out of state, then why can't he afford to live in California? That was my number one response. My number two response is, it's where you live. I have lived in other states for various reasons. And the money, what I always say is the money is the same, meaning, yes, it might be cheaper to live there, but you make less money. Right. I don't care what the minimum wage is. Your expenses might be lower, but you're going to make less money. I've done it. I have physically done it. I've moved to a place, lived there, Oregon, Idaho, Northern California. When I mean Northern California, I don't mean the Bay Area. I mean Siskiyou County. You know, population.
You mean Shasta County?
Yes.
Those areas?
No, Siskiyou County.
I don't know where that is.
Well, sorry for you. It's right on the border. It's where the best hunting and fishing is. Thank you very much. Anyway, well, there's.
How would you know?
Because I did those things. That's why. But let's get back to if you're moving for money, that's the worst reason to move anywhere.
For me,
I'm sorry.
I think it's too late. No, I think it's too late. If you wanted to move out of California because of high cost, you should have done it 2 years ago because now it's high cost everywhere. Prices have gone up everywhere you're thinking about going. People in Idaho, I don't want to say hate Californians, but they pretty much hate the fact that they've raised the value of their properties so high that they can't afford it anymore. You go to Tennessee, you go to Texas, you go to Florida, all those places, they're saying, if you come here, fine, just don't bring your politics. And so I think that's a lot of things, and I'm not making that up. That's exactly what they said on TV, and I totally agree. But my question is, if you're moving out of California, don't plan on moving back. And I'm not saying we won't take you back. It's just you can't afford to come back once you leave for most people.
Right.
That's the problem. Because you buy a house that's cheaper and you go to sell it. You have $10,000 to come here to California to buy a house, and you can't buy anything with $10,000 down because you moved out. Got a question?
You're listening to Real Estate Jerky here on Power Talk 1360 KFIV with our host, Ed Parco, MBA veteran and president of Lending for Living. You can reach out to Ed, 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915. Or you can get him at lendingforliving.com. You can email us at radio@realestatejerky.com, Facebook, all that stuff. You know, you can find us if you got questions or need some help. So moving out of California, don't move out of California. Wait to buy. You know, it's again, it's all the same money. Here's my philosophy with all that.
Well,
when things are high, when things are high, prices are high, there's money flowing around. It's flowing like crazy, like right now, right? Mm-hmm. And the prices are high because people can pay it. Prices wouldn't be high if people couldn't pay it. So when you're waiting for things to drop, guess what? Your income's probably going to drop too. That's why things go down. So to me, it's all the same money.
But we don't have any of the stuff that's going on now that caused the drops in the past, right? We don't have what you called liar loans at one time, right? We have ability to pay law rule that you have to be able to show the income so you can buy the house. Most people are paying for things still. 1 in 4 offers are cash. They're putting 20% down. They're putting 10% down, 5% down. They're putting something down. They're putting skin in the game. Where last time in 2006, 2007, you could buy a house for 100% financing with no skin in the game, and those were horrible programs. We don't have that right now. We don't have an S&L crisis back in the 80s into the 90s that caused the other short little downturn. We've not, even if we go in a recession, we're not going to see a downturn from that. And inflation coming, we're going to see prices appreciate even more. So for me, for people asking to wait till it drops, and I've said this to a bunch of people, and they chuckled because they're like, it will drop, but we're probably talking 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Eventually, something's going to happen to cause it to go.
That's an immutable law. What goes up comes down. That's an immutable law. You can't change that.
But it's not going to go down 50% like we just went through. It's not going to go down that. It might go down 10%, 20%, not appreciate at the same rate that it was appreciating at, because things got too expensive or things got so much so where people can't afford it. The question really is with this, and I don't want to get too political here, but with the new budget that's coming out, it shows no growth at all. 2% growth or less for the next so many years. So we're spending $6 trillion for no growth. We don't know how that's going to affect us with everything else going on. But let's talk about a positive thing that came out this week, and it's coming this week. Fannie and Freddie came out with a program for low-income people who were not able to refinance last time because their income was lower and their DTI is higher than the standard 50% LTV that they can do it at. So now the LTV will go higher. It's going to be based off of 80% of the median income in the area. If you want to know more information, you can contact me or you can Google, refi now and don't just go to that first website because that's an ad.
So, okay, help me understand.
What happened is their ratio was at like 53, right? So for their debt-to-income ratio was over the Fannie and Freddie guidelines of 50%. Now, from what I'm seeing, it can go up to 65%. So that means they could have taken a little loss. Right, they qualify for the house and they're making the payments, but for some reason, maybe they're on retirement now, maybe they're on this now, and they don't qualify like they did when they bought the house, but they can make the payment because that's what they've been doing.
They're making the payment.
Yeah,
and they deserve the opportunity to be able to get a lower interest.
Right, and on VA, right, the VA has the same program where you don't even show income. You're just able to lower your rate as long as it makes sense to make it more affordable for you. Well, kind of they're doing that now for low-income people for Fannie and Freddie loans. It's got to be a loan that's done in a certain period of time, and it can't be, I think it has to be seasoned for a period of time. It can't just happen like 6 months ago. It had to be longer back, and you have to go down at least 0.5%. And I'm going to say for most people, it would low income. If you're not going down more than that, it probably is not going to make sense.
And do you feel like there's still a lot of those loans out there, Ed?
They said about 2 million people.
Oh, wow.
Nationwide.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like the trillion that we just went through, but there's a lot of them that could need that help and that could be helpful.
And you're able to do those.
Yeah, pretty much everybody's able to do those. But
okay.
Yes, I can do those too. Yes. If you have questions, have answers, give me a call.
You have answers. If you have
Whatever.
questions, it has answers. So
or if you
else?
have answers, I might come up with a question. We'll be like on that old talk show, the Tonight Show with Ed McMahon, right?
Oh.
Or Johnny Carson would put the
now
envelope
you're
and
dating.
do the question.
You're dating
We'd do the
yourself.
question and open up the envelope. No, I've seen reruns.
The amazing
Karnak. That's it, Karnak.
That's right. The amazing Karnak. That's right. I love Johnny.
And then I talked to a few other listeners, and I asked them how they like the show, and they said, I'd like to hear more about real estate. And then the wife said, well, the reason that they do what they do is they talk about community, because it's really important. Where you live is what you buy into that community. And no more than like today's show about Manteca and the fair and watermelons and all that fun stuff.
Well, and that goes back to what I said just a minute ago. If you're moving because of money only, that's a bad reason to move. It's a bad reason to move. I mean, you should move for a better quality of life. Mm-hmm. If money is a part of that, that's understandable. It is for all of us, because that is part of life. But the community, the schools, whatever it is that you need to improve your quality of life, the job, the weather. Part of why I stay in California isn't because I can afford to live here. Because really, I can't. I really can't. I really shouldn't live in California. But the reality is, I love this weather. I love this weather. And that's probably why I love watermelon. Because you got to have 100-degree weather to grow great watermelon. So there you go.
Did not know that.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah.
No, I didn't know you had to have 100-degree weather.
Got to have 100-degree. Got to have lots of sandy loam soil, hot weather, and water. That's what it takes to grow great watermelon. That's why it grows in places like Arizona, here, Southern California, Mexico. Anyway, there you go. We're about to find out.
I learned something today. Thank you.
Hey, you're listening to Real Estate Jerky. I'm Marlene Champlin, trusty sidekick to our host, Ed Parco, MBA veteran and president of Lending for Living. If you've got questions, comments, need some help, please dial Ed at 209-404-1915 or email us at radio@realestatejerky.com. And on this glorious first weekend in June, my favorite purveyor of fresh fruits and vegetables, especially watermelon, from just up the road a bit, Ron Perry, CFO, Perry & Sons, and partner at Perry's Market Manteca. Hello, Ron.
Hello, thank you. Hi.
Well, hello, Ron. I know it's a busy weekend and, the first annual Manteca Crossroads Watermelon Fair. You want to tell us a little bit about the fair and the role that Perry & Sons is playing? But a lot of people might not know who Perry & Sons is. You want to give them a little background, how long you've been in the area, that kind of stuff?
Sure. We're a family-owned farming operation, mainly focusing on watermelons and pumpkins, 4 generations. So we've been here since like the 1920s. In the Manteca area. So Manteca's our home.
The only people who don't know are people who don't eat watermelons. That's what I got to say about
okay,
that.
let's not everybody eats watermelons. So let's move on.
Everybody, unless you're allergic, why wouldn't you? It is the most amazing fruit, vegetable. It's a fruit and a vegetable. Did you know that?
Yeah. No. I'm from Southern California, where you take a watermelon to the beach that's filled with other things, because that's the only way you can get it on the beach. So I just wanted to get a little background on, the company. So if you've been around here for 4 generations since the 1920s, your company has been through many different challenges, many different things.
Yes.
How has the last year been for your industry?
It was a tough one, like it is for everyone. But, being in fruits and vegetables, and it's a necessity, for life. And so we did okay. We sell to all the grocery stores, all the main grocery stores, the big guys, and so that helped us out. So it was a good year. It was it could have been a lot worse, and we know there was a lot of people that struggled through that year, and hopefully that they're doing better now, coming out of this now, and we kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel. So we made it through, and we're looking forward to the future.
Have you guys had any of the struggles that other places have that are saying they can't find employees, that kind of stuff, or have you had pretty much the same people on the whole time?
We've been fortunate there. We have a lot of the same employees every year, over and over. As we're seasonal to some degree on the farming portion, although our company also does year-round. We buy and sell year-round throughout the whole year with watermelons from all different areas. But during our harvest season, we have the same crews that come back every year. So we're fortunate that way. I mean, it has been a little bit harder than previous years, but we have such a good, loyal workforce that's been with us for so many years. And it's kind of like just a big family that's been built over years. And so not too bad.
Last question, then we'll get into the fair. Have you had any struggles like the pickle industry where they can't get jars to make their pickles? You guys having any issues like that with any of the stuff you're doing?
Absolutely. This year moving into this season has been more of those kinds of issues with a lot of the packaging supplies, bins, pallets, lids, all that packaging type stuff. And so, but we're prepared for it. We're working on that. But absolutely, that's been a problem.
So things are starting back up. Instead of a bummer time, it's a fabulous time. And one of the very first fairs of the year, Ron, is coming up, right? It's this weekend, the Crossroads Watermelon Fair, which is the first time it replaces what used to be the street fair in Manteca that went on for years and years and years. And I think it's exciting. Why did they decide Watermelon Fair?
Yeah, it's really exciting. We're all excited about it. We're starting summer just now, and it's getting hot already. So what perfect time to have watermelon during a hot season and a hot summers. We're looking forward to it. I know they did move it used to be the street fair, and they moved it back into the summer, more of the summer months. Manteca being known for an agriculture community, so they switched over that name to the watermelons and pumpkins have been such a part of Manteca's history for so many years, over 100 years. So that's kind of neat to be able to put that name into the fair and to celebrate that with the history of Manteca. So, and it's such a fun product as well. It's fun for the kids. It's after that, last year being such a bummer year, it's kind of fun to get out now with the summer, have a fun product to do that with. And that's just with watermelons. It's a fun product with the kids. And
yeah, it's
absolutely
free to get in. And they've got age groups. It's major fun. So it's downtown Manteca. Tell me about downtown Manteca and where this little fair is. It's not little. It's like over 300 vendors.
Yeah, there's going to be like over 300 vendors. There's going to be a watermelon eating contest. There's going to be pony rides, petting zoo. They're going to have a motorcycle car show on Saturday, a classic car show on Sunday. All kinds of arts and crafts, entertainment for the kids, and I think there's even going to be a watermelon princess as well. So it's going to be fun. It's just right there in downtown Manteca, down there on Yosemite Avenue, and just the whole downtown portion.
Any restrictions? What are they outside? It's outside, right? So there's
It's all outdoors.
It's outside, yeah.
and
it's free admission, so yeah. And I think it's Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., so it'll be a good time.
You're listening to Ron Perry, CFO Perry & Sons, a partner at Perry's Market Manteca. You can stop by the Perry & Sons Perry's Market booth at the Crossroads Watermelon Fair this weekend in downtown Manteca, 10 a to 5 p. each day, or visit perrysmarket.com. You can reach out to our host, Ed Parco, by dialing 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915, and at lendingforliving.com. You can also email us at radio@realestatejerky.com. So, Ron, you grew up in Manteca, like your family's
Yes,
4
I did.
generations. And so now you have this Perry's Market. But what is it about Manteca that there's so many families like yours in Manteca that have been there for generations? What is it? Is it the water?
Yeah, like my family, like I said, we're 4 generations, but there's a lot of other families of the same thing, 3-4 generations long, all over the city. And the nice thing about Manteca and what's the attraction to it is it still has that small town feel, although it's a little bit bigger than a small town city, but it still has that small town feel, but has a lot of the bigger amenities that you can get from the bigger cities. And then the other thing that's just really nice about, Manteca and the Valley is we got good weather year round, which is another thing that's kind of fun. It gets a little hot in the summer, but when you look at it on a year-round basis, we have some great weather here. And being in the Valley here in Manteca, we're close to all the big cities if you want to do that too or whatever. So it's just a good location.
So let's go back to the fair, Watermelon Fair. The thing that always struck me, and does now that we're back doing it, like the pumpkin fair that happens in October, is it's one of the few where you actually see still some handcrafted things.
Right.
Manteca's unique that way. There's still a lot of those folks around. In the market, you guys have some things that are handmade from locals there.
Oh, yeah. The nice thing about our little market is that, like, you know, being in the produce industry for so many years, you know, we've got our own produce there, but we've also been focusing on trying to partner with other small businesses, like, like even like the little small handcraft type things. We have a lady that she has a small little business, and so we have some of her stuff in there. There's also like the coffee and other produce and like the honey and stuff. They're all different little family-owned small businesses in the area. So we try to gather all them out, try to help them out. It's like a win-win. We have their stuff in our market. So,
and some of those folks are going to be at the fair with separate
absolutely.
booths, like the baker, your baked goods that you carry in the market. Ron, I forget what's their names, and they've also got a booth at the fair.
Yeah, I know Rosa's Portuguese bakery out of Escalon's going to be there, and I know there's going to be. What was the other one? There's all the different.
Yeah, Rosa's going to have massa cevada, right?
Yeah.
Sweet bread, not Hawaiian bread. No such thing as Hawaiian bread. That's Portuguese, folks.
I mean, the Portuguese bread, Portuguese sweet bread, and so there'll be other different family businesses there that are going to be promoting their products as well.
You're listening to Real Estate Jerky here on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. We're talking with Ron Perry, CFO, Perry & Sons, and Perry's Market Manteca, and about the Manteca Crossroads Watermelon Fair today and tomorrow, 10 a to 5 p, downtown Manteca. We're also talking about some of the great resources in Manteca that make it an incredible community to live in. So if you need some help with that, reach out to our host, Ed Parco, MBA veteran and president of Lending for Living, 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915. Or email us at radio@realestatejerky.com. I'm Marlene Champlin, Ed's trusty sidekick here at Real Estate Jerky on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. We're talking with Ron Perry, CFO, Perry & Sons, and Perry's Market Manteca. So Ron, Ed's very concerned about the farming operation going into this year. So
I'm not concerned. I had questions. I just want to know, I mean, because I'm hearing how, okay, so I just got told up in Tuolumne County, there's going to have water restrictions starting in July. We can't, if you pull a permit, they're going to add all these additional fire restrictions on it, and you have to have all this other, water standing by everything because of fire. And then we're seeing the words of we're going to be in a drought, and they're going to put restrictions on watering. We haven't seen it yet. How is the watermelon operation? How is that, over the past 4 generations? I assume you've changed it to where it usually doesn't affect you as much, or how does it affect you? I should actually ask.
Well, those are good questions. Yeah, this year is a concern as well, for sure. We are definitely in that drought situation. But yeah, being in the business for over 4 generations, like when we had the major drought in the 1970s, and then the recent one that we had, I don't know how many years ago that was, about a few years ago. Those hurt, and you do have to cut back. But the thing with watermelons in the past, it used to be mostly furrow irrigation, but over the time, with innovation and stuff, especially with the seedless watermelons, it's all been switched over to drip irrigation. So we're using all drip tape, which uses a lot less water per acre. You can put the water exactly where you want it, and you're not just putting it down the furrow. It's not evaporating and that kind of thing. So it's more conservative. It's more using that water in the correct way where you need it at the right time. So that's what we've kind of done over the years, kind of innovation, basically.
Right. Because I have had some people complaining that they're starting to. All right. So I say we need to build more homes. A lot of people say we don't. We need to keep the farmland. We don't want to have more homes. We want to keep the fertile farmland, move them out, put the houses elsewhere. So there's a lot of demand for different things. I know you've seen multiple things change in that generational that you guys are in Manteca. What have you seen change drastically over the since you've been running the business in Manteca itself as an area? Good or bad?
Well, I mean as far as all the land and that kind of thing?
Anything.
No, it's just like I was saying. I mean, over the years, just more innovation and trying to use the water or the land in a good way that's beneficial to the environment and all that kind of stuff. So over the years, we just had to adjust and change and make those, for the best.
Well, I'm sure you've seen additional homes come in now, right? And more people in the area, which has helped your business to a certain point eat more watermelons and other things.
Sure. No, I mean, there's been a lot of changes, of course. Yeah, there's been a lot of building over time. But, yeah, I mean, we do need homes. I mean, we need, we've got a growing population. And so, of course, we need homes. But there's a lot of land out there. And with more modern techniques, there's a lot of land that's not even being farmed yet. So that will happen over time. We will move into those areas eventually that with the new technologies and things like that. Of course, there was, even more greenhouse and that kind of stuff is becoming more and more popular. And so with those integration to the industry, we'll see that happening more and more. And so, no, we want to have growth. It's always a positive thing.
No, well, I mean, otherwise everybody gets priced out of the market, and we don't have affordable homes because we don't have enough homes being built.
Correct.
And we're about 20 million down over the last decade that we haven't built nationwide that we need. But back to your farming, you're talking about your farming, and so do you think they're ever going to move? So is watermelon still just growing outside on the ground like it used to be, or is it in a warehouse? Is it in a greenhouse? How is it? How do you guys grow it now?
Right now, well, with seedless watermelons, you start the seeded or the plants, the seeds. You start in the greenhouse. You get the little plants, and then we transplant those in the fields after they're a few inches tall, and so then that's how that works. Years ago, it was just direct seed right into the ground. All the watermelons are still basically grown out like traditionally, right on the ground, right out there, all hand labor. But I could see that in the future being more and more as time goes, where it could become more of either in the greenhouse or some other technique or on some kind of poles or some kind of system where you're makes the harvest easier or makes the growing more efficient.
You're listening to Real Estate Jerky on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. We're talking to Ron Perry, CFO Perry & Sons and Perry's Market Manteca. You can stop by the Perry & Sons and Perry's Market booth at the Crossroads Watermelon Fair this weekend in downtown Manteca, 10 a to 5 p. each day, or visit perrysmarket.com. Reach out to our host if you need a mortgage so you can buy one of those houses in Manteca at 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915. Or at lendingforliving.com. You can also email us at radio@realestatejerky.com. So you're talking farming in Manteca, but one of the things that's always fascinated me about Manteca, even in the worst of real estate markets, they have historically held their price, the value of homes, like no other town or community in the valley. Manteca's always been, it's fascinating me that it's always been that way. I think part of that, I'm going to make a statement and then I'm going to ask you a question, Ron, is because Manteca as a community has committed to this family environment. The entertainment and the developments that they bring in are very, very, very family oriented. Would you agree with that, Ron? And give us examples of it that you see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like we were saying earlier, Manteca is such a family feeling type community, but still big enough to have some of the bigger amenities. The bigger stores or whatever. So it just makes it such a great location. I mean, in fact, it's kind of amazing that it hasn't grown faster over the years because it's such a great location, both weather and location to the big cities and still having that small town feel here, being right here in the middle of the valley.
But you've got some resources that are unusual and unique to this area, like what just opened, Great Wolf Lodge. Exactly.
We got that, and we got all kinds of those kinds of things that Bass Pro and those kinds of things have come to town and really kind of put us on the map a little bit. And so that's kind of helped out on those kinds of things, keep the market good and for the real estate. And we have a great location, just a great location. We're right in the middle of I-5 and 99 with 120 connecting the two, and so it's easy to get in and out of here and go somewhere. And if you want to go to the mountains, you can do that. If you want to go to the ocean, you can do that. So it's a great location.
Yeah, you guys have some, you're building there. Modesto's just kind of getting started with the building thing. You've got 5 different subdivisions going in around you. Did any of that encroach on any of your guys' land, or Del Webb, that 55 plus community, when that got built? I mean, how did that play out for Perry & Sons?
That actually helped us out with Del Webb because they're so close to us, with our market and stuff. We hope that we're a service to them for that part of it. But the building going around the area has not hurt us too much. We're more out in the further farmlands around Manteca, not so much in the areas where they're building. So it's kind of a win-win.
But it's helped the market. You guys do get quite a few.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So speaking of the market, what most folks don't know is how Perry & Sons very first started. And you kind of went back to your roots, huh?
Yeah. Back in the 1920s, it was my great-grandfather started this little fruit stand out here by Highway 99, but he also had a dairy and did some farming of watermelons. So we had watermelons, the dairy, and this little fruit stand. And so 4 generations later, we're still in the watermelon business, but we have done the fruit stand on and off throughout the years, but at different locations. But when we moved back to this location, I don't know how many years ago it was, we were like, you know what, let's bring back the market. It was kind of in honor of my great-grandfather, Delfino Perry. And so that little fruit stand they had is still there. It's only about a couple hundred yards from where we are currently, and it still sits there as a little landmark, a historical landmark. But we did that in honor of him. It's been going very well. And the other thing, it's just been fun to be able to also help support other small local businesses to have their products in the market as well.
Anything else you want to add before we go about the fair?
Well, on the fair, it's really fun that they're bringing this into our first annual watermelon fair for the area. Like we were saying earlier about the history of the town and the history of the area. So it's going to be fun to have that right in the middle of the summer, the watermelon fair, and then moving into the fall season with the pumpkins, with the pumpkin fair. It'll be 2 fairs back to back, which is just going to be fun for the community to be able just to come out and enjoy those festivities. It's just going to be a really neat experience.
Is Lockford sausage and Fagundes meats going to be out at the fair?
Yes. That's what I was trying to think of them earlier, and I couldn't think of it. But yes, Lockford sausage, Fagundes meats, and a lot more. But these are like Fagundes and the others, long-time family businesses in this area, well-known, and good products. We come out and check them out. They're going to be at the fair, and there's going to be so much good stuff out there. So
thank you. Thanks for being on the show today, and for all the delicious watermelons and all the great produce that you guys have put out, for all the pumpkins I've carved over the years, all the watermelons I've eaten. Thanks for those.
Absolutely.
Our family,
thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thanks for being here.
It's a wonderful community, Manteca. If you have not been there, you are really missing out. Seriously, you need to come out. You're listening to Real Estate Jerky on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. I'm Marlene Champlin, Ed's trusty sidekick, our host, Ed Parco, MBA veteran and president of Lending for Living. Ed's ready for your questions. You can reach out to him at 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915. Ed, you probably already know this because I mentioned it earlier, but Manteca has had the steadiest increase in home prices of all our valley communities. Even through the worst of times, they've held their values. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just a smaller community. It's like Turlock, it's like Ripon. A lot of these smaller towns just kept their value because they have a lot less homes compared to a big place like Modesto, Stockton, and other places. But actually, Stockton's pretty good in some of the areas. But that's what I think. I just think it's the community. It's a smaller community, and people. I think Manteca is huge, right? If you don't really know the town, you think it's much bigger than it really is. right?
You want to know what I think why
No.
Manteca has been historically different than most of the rest of the communities and has had the steadiest pricing? I think because the community people have gathered together, the planners, and they made this decision long ago, and that's why they've got things like the Great Wolf Lodge that just opened, things like Deloso Farms, which is amazing if somebody hasn't been there. There's pumpkin maze, there's all the stuff, the corn maze, the pumpkin. You've got Big League Dreams. If you haven't been out to that facility, that's incredible. But I'm sure anybody out there that's listening that plays any kind of soccer, softball, baseball, any of that, you've been there. That's an amazing. But it took planning for them to decide long ago. So Bass Pro, it's a retail, but what a retailer. I mean, it's an incredible place. So Manteca, all in one very small area, has all those things, plus the Costco and all that. They've got a lot of jobs that we don't even think about, a lot of warehouse things because of the river and the delta and the tracks. And so that's what I think makes Manteca so much different.
So what you're saying is they actually plan better than what Modesto did?
I do. I am saying
No,
that.
I'm agreeing with you. Modesto has, we have Gallo, and that had nothing to do with Modesto City bringing that. That had to do with some other people bringing Gallo Center here in the area, not Modesto City. I don't think our area has planned very well at all. We could get some planners on here and they can argue with us about that, but it just looks that way. I understand what you're saying, so I agree too. But you also have a town right here close to us, Ripon, whose their values have never really, we're steady.
Believe it or not, Manteca beats Ripon out in that overall the average. But yes, and Ripon though is very much affected by Manteca. It's like the bedroom community, and so it's that same vibe of safety, of planned, and Ripon's got some great things too.
San Joaquin County. I'm just saying it's a part of I think maybe it's just the fact that those two are in San Joaquin County versus us, Stanislaus County, and maybe they had better planners, maybe had better other things. I don't know what it is. We should find out and have them use it here because I like what they do over there.
So how do you buy a house in a red hot market like that, like Manteca?
Right over. It's really difficult. You just because I actually had a gentleman buy. I did not realize they had such large, expensive homes in Manteca, but he bought a $1.5 million home. I know that's anywhere that's an average home anymore, but he put 20% down, went over asking by $100,000, got that transaction. And then it appraised $100,000 over that. Figure that one out.
This is what I'm talking about. And most people don't really realize that unless you're looking in Manteca directly. So for those folks who want to live there, what's the trick? What's the thing to keep in mind?
I think it's the same as everywhere because this is happening everywhere. I'm talking Tuolumne County, Calaveras County, everywhere, is you have to know what are you willing to spend yourself personally and what you're not willing to go over. And so, is this, and we're in that point right now that we have no idea how much higher our values are going to go over than, and how much longer they're going to go, because we don't know how the current administration is going to affect certain things, and we don't know any of that kind of stuff. But let's go back to what we're talking about real estate, because it get me off politics.
You're listening to Real Estate Jerky here on Power Talk 1360 KFIV with our host, Ed Parco, MBA veteran and president of Lending for Living. If you've got questions for Ed, and we're going to talk about some things you're definitely going to have some questions about, dial him at 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915. Or you can find him at lendingforliving.com. Or you can email us any questions about anything at radio@realestatejerky.com. So, Ed, have you been out to Great Wolf? Or do you know about it? What do you know about it? Do you know anything about it at all?
I've driven by it a couple times and seen them building it, and that's about it. It was funny because I've been driving around, which I have not been driving around, right? You figure out for the past year, I went from my house to my office, and that's about it, or out of town, but not over towards the bay. And we drove over there the other day going, wow, that was built there. When was that built? And so the Great Wolf, I've seen it, but I don't know. Is it even open yet?
It's open, and that's unfortunate. You know what? You need to go out to the street fair. As soon as we get off the show, you need to grab Marcia, go out to the Watermelon Fair and Manteca, and on your way there, you can drive by the Great Wolf Lodge. It's over 500 rooms. It's an indoor water park. It's unbelievable. Over 1,000 jobs, 250 full-time. The other 700 some are going to be part-time and some seasonal, obviously, tourist season and vacation times. It's amazing. But it is not a water park like theme park. You got to stay there. You've got to be able. You've actually got to book in there and stay as part of the lodging. But it's pretty incredible.
Is it always going to be that way? Where you have to stay there to use the water park?
Yeah. They're not. Well, there may be some private events, and you can book birthday parties there. You can book some private events there. But as far as will it be like a separate water park that you could no. It
sounds
won't
like
be that.
Sounds like some of the resorts in Mexico where they have the huge water parks for the kids to play it all day, so the parents can go, play all day.
It's quite a place. So then, let me ask you the other question: have you ever been out to Deloso's? Have you ever done the corn maze?
Yeah, I've never done the corn maze, but I've been out there a few times because, our kids were young, so they'd want to go over there, and we've been there many times. So, yes, I've been there. And I've been by it many times.
Yeah. And let's see, what else have you? Big League Dreams. Have you been out there before?
I have never been at the stadium. I've been by it many times. Because our kids never played softball or baseball or any of those kind of ball sports. Took Blake out for T-ball, and he cried because he didn't. And I'm going to make sure this gets cut in, and make sure you save this for me, Mike, so I can send it to him. He cried like a little. I mean, it was like, I don't want to play this, But he wanted to play T-ball, but he didn't want to stand out there and have to actually run the base, do what you have to do. They just want to hit the ball. They don't want to do anything else, and so. Yeah, that was it.
Kids.
That was his one time for baseball. I
had sporty kids. I got sporty grandkids. I do everything like ball sports and all of it.
Blake likes after that it was soccer, and he was really good at it. But the problem with Blake is he had no regard. Everybody said he had no regard for his safety when it came to a ball.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's And now
he scared his mom all the time. All the time.
Aww.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Manteca is a great place, and there are still. It is a little bit tougher market for first-time home buyers, but there are still some places there. You know what? Let's get a realtor from up there. I happen to know a couple.
Oh, we can do that. Yeah, I mean, with that new place they have built out there, and was it Lathrop? What's that? Where all that water?
Meritage there's several subdivisions being built.
Well, they're building another 1,000 homes out there supposedly, and that's going to help us. But there's nothing like that around here, and we need something around here. So,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and this weekend comes to the end all the time, doesn't it? Right at the end of the show. Well, we're here at the end of our show, the shortest hour of my life each and every week. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to our guest, Ron Perry, CFO, Perry & Sons, and Perry's Market Manteca. You can visit Perry's Market 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. for fresh fruits and vegetables, bakery items, nuts, dried fruits, coffee, and so much more. Their location in Manteca on the Highway 99 frontage road. Get directions or contact information at perrysmarket.com. And if you got questions for me, you can reach out by dialing 209-404-1915. Again, that's 209-404-1915, or just text me. And you can also reach us through lendingforliving.com. You can also email us here at the show at radio@realestatejerky.com. In the upcoming weeks, we will be taking the show on the road. We're going to Vegas. That's right, baby. The Stanislaus County Fair also. Stay tuned. If you missed any of today's show, you can find us via podcast at iHeart.com and all your favorite podcast apps. We're proud to live in this land of opportunity where you can still build personal wealth through home ownership. Join us here on Real Estate Jerky, where we always give you something to chew on every Saturday at 12 noon and Sundays at 10 a.m. here on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. Marlene, thanks for joining me today and taking my abuse.
Who says I'm taking it? Hey, Ed, thanks for another great show. I'm looking forward to the road trips, too. You'll be out of here.
That's right.
I can really get better about this, right? It's hard. It's harder for you to give me crap via cell phone, I think. We'll see.
We'll see. I might have my whole setup. You never know. I'll have the camera crew and everything. My name is license number is 235384, and we'll talk to you next week.